President Adama Barrow departs for the holy city of Mecca to perform Umrah. And the World Bank renews its commitment in supporting Gambia's fight against the coronavirus global pandemic. Elsewhere, South Africa intensifies efforts to combat illicit cigarette business. These and more coming on the news desk. Hello and welcome to the news desk with me, Juldenjai Suare, and now the news in detail. The Gambian leader has this afternoon departed for Medina, where he spent the first night of his week-long working visit to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. President Barrow and his high-powered delegation left for Mecca via Jeddah in the early hours of the day, where he is expected to perform Umrah later. Umrah is the name given to pilgrimage to Mecca, a shorter version of the annual Hajj gathering. The word Umrah in Arabic means visiting a populated place. The Hajj offers an opportunity for Muslims around the world to refresh their faith, seek forgiveness, and pray for their needs. One who performs it is said to be cleansed from their sins. On his week-long engagement in the Middle East nation, President Barrow and entourage will perform Friday Jummah prayers at the Grand Mosque in Mecca. President Barrow will also inaugurate the newly constructed Gambian embassy and ambassador's residence at the diplomatic quarters in Riyadh. Those are the live footage there of President Adama Barrow in Mecca. And with that, we move on to another thing, because the World Bank Regional Director has reaffirmed commitment in supporting Gambia in its fight against the COVID-19 global pandemic. Nadan Blett was speaking during the visit to the renovated Ndemban Clinic, serving as a COVID-19 treatment center in Barrow. Desise tells us more.
During the peak of the coronavirus pandemic, the Ministry of Health initiated the renovation of the one-time abandoned Ndemban Clinic with joint support from South Africa Global Foundation, the World Bank and UNDP. The facility in Barrow was added to the list of treatment centers for COVID-19 patients. Following the inauguration of the clinic last year, the World Bank Regional Director on Wednesday paid a visit to the facility to obtain first-hand information on the progress so far. Speaking to the press by the end of his tour, Nathan Blett expressed World Bank's renewed commitment in the fight against COVID-19.
We continue to encourage the ministry to be very prudent, efficient, and effective in the utilization governance of these funds to ensure that the services that are supposed to be rendered to all the citizens and beneficiaries of medical services in the country can be well supported provision to Gambia, the development and improvement of the health sector.
Mr. Blade unveiled plans by the World Bank to ensure fair distribution of COVID-19 vaccines in the Africa continent.
From the perspective of the World Bank, and I know from many of our other partners, we are working very, very diligently to assist in the acquisition of vaccines. There is a very strong initiative effort being held, supported through the African Union for the acquisition of the African continent. From our specific perspective, the World Bank, our first and primary goal was to ensure that there was availability. So our leaders very soon into the COVID-19 pandemic had allocated a very large amount of money to ensure that any country that needs financing for the purchase of vaccines would be able to get it.
The health facility in Barrow was reviewed at a tune of $290,000 at a time when the Gambia needed to prepare for a worst-case scenario from COVID-19. The Ministry of Health and the South Africa Global Foundation, together with the UN Development Programme and the World Bank, inaugurated the Ndemban Clinic in December 2020. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Lacey Say.
The World Bank has expressed commitment in supporting Gambia in their fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, Nigerian authorities have expressed concern over the increasing number of countries' children involvement in forced labor amid the COVID-19 pandemic. About 15 million children are said to be involved in child labor in the West African state, according to the country's National Bureau of Statistics. The government is intensifying efforts to mitigate the effects of child labor by initiating new regulations to address the situation. Details in this report.
Ladidi Amos is just 10 years old. That's not her real name. She sells food on the streets of Jos in north-central Nigeria. Ladidi's mother says this is because the family depends on the money she makes to feed the family.
Her sales help us a lot as a family. We don't have anything to do. We are grateful to God that we have a daughter like her to help us out. Nobody is ready to share now, so it's important we have her out there toiling. The times are hard. We pray for more strength on our daughter so she can help us more.
The nation's Bureau of Statistics says 43% of children who are 5 to 10 years of age are involved in child labor in the country. Estimates put that number at some 15 million children. Experts say many children from poor households were forced to quit school and support their families when their parents lost their jobs during the pandemic.
Child labor is not acceptable. I don't think there's any positive justification for any parents to subject their children, for child labor. Is not right. It's not right. In as much as we are saying that children should learn entrepreneurial skill, at their level, that is not right to subject them to a kind of, hazardous labor, just to fend for themselves or their family with or without COVID.
The government insists it's taking action.
We know government has tried in numerous ways. First, in Plateau State where I am, government has tried through the State Universal Basic Education Board, that's superb, by augmenting the cost of primary and secondary, especially junior secondary school education. Government has tried as much as possible not to completely let it free, but has augmented.
The government insists it has drafted fresh policies to address the child labor issues impacting millions of children in the country. The Nigerian government initiated monthly cash grants to support 1 million vulnerable households affected by coronavirus in 2020. It later increased the number to 3.6 million households to cushion the effects of the pandemic on them. The hope is that these commitments will help tackle the issue of child labor and provide a better environment for children like Ladidi to be able to enjoy their childhood.
The Nigerian government has intensified efforts in the fight against child labor. Now, Kenya is witnessing an increase in charcoal burning business despite its health and environmental effects in the country. Despite government's renewed commitment to end the illegal practice, local farmers still use charcoal business as their source of income. Some environmentalists have, however, warned the charcoal burning has continued to pose serious risks to the environment. More of that in this report.
Droughts have continuously threatened Kenya's food security, and one of the practices affecting water catchment areas is charcoal burning. We meet Franklin Katana in Kenya's Kilifi County. He has been in the charcoal burning business for more than 20 years now. He says it has provided for him economically, but this has come at a cost.
Burning charcoal is very dangerous to one's health because of the dirt, and we sometimes get respiratory diseases. I don't have any job. This is what I depend on.
It helps us with food, clothing and schooling our children. We fall sick most of the time, but we always come back here to the bushes after receiving treatment. The authorities come here and arrest us, but once we come out of custody, we continue burning charcoal.
These bushes are now being prepared for a traditional kiln set up to burn charcoal. Almost 10 tons of wood are used to produce a ton of charcoal. The economic interests of local communities have clashed with the country's environmental protection goals. Environmentalists warn that charcoal burning and the resultant carbon emissions continue to pose a huge threat to the environment.
Carbon is one of the great contributors to global warming. Yes, we have other gases. We have carbon, we have methane. Methane is the most dangerous among all the other gases, but carbon is the most dangerous because of its volume. But in terms of size, and it's dangerous in terms of size, methane is the worst. When you come to charcoal, charcoal contributes to carbon monoxide, and it has a carbon element, even the carbon dioxide here. So when you're talking about charcoal element, people who actually end up using the charcoal, one, they'll end up having health issues, respiratory problems due to breathing in this carbon. Also, they'll have problems of eyesight, all these problems. And compounding to this, they'll have problems of global warming because this carbon actually contributes to the greenhouse gases.
The repercussions and the effects of cutting trees and burning charcoal is something they've never heard of. The main priority is to keep their families well fed and, of course, their pockets full. For now, they're also crying for help. The help is also about just being given education, for the effects are really disturbing.
Charcoal burning is still practiced in Kenya despite government warning. Now with that, we come back home because as part of his nationwide tour, the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces visited the infantry battalion based in Farafenni, where the construction of a standard accommodation for the soldiers is ongoing. The project is at the tune of over $20 million. Is among plans by the armed forces to offer more standard military bases in different parts of the country. Details in this report.
In his second day of visit to military deployments across the country, the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Yakuba Drame, met with stakeholders and sister security services in the Farafenni town of North Bank region on Tuesday. The delegate checked into the 2nd Infantry Battalion, where an accommodation structure with over 50 rooms is being constructed for members of the military. Good and proper accommodation for men and women in uniform has always been a challenge in the armed forces. Major Lamin Sanyang, spokesperson of the Gambia Armed Forces, described the new development as a drive to provide conducive accommodation for the men in uniform.
By this year, when the budget was done and an amount was allocated for development, he decided to concentrate or prioritize most of our development projects in terms of when it relates to accommodation. So in the past, what we used to do was like spread our net with the little resources that we had, and it was observed that none of the projects were completed because we were spread thin. As a result, the Chief of Defense Staff has directed that all prioritization of the accommodation should be done, and therefore that's why we have this accommodation being constructed here in Farafenni.
At the Ket Ayub postal border between Senegal and the Gambia, the CDS and delegation met security forces of both countries behind a closed door. It could be anticipated that two sides pondered on challenges on management of cross-border security matters. Back to the 2nd Infantry Battalion, the discussion with troops was centered chiefly on their living conditions, disciplinary issues, and the way forward for the armed forces. Reporting for iAfrica News from CRR, I am Mariama Cham.
Now joining me live to discuss events of the CDS 4th day of tour is our Mariama Cham, who is currently with the delegation in CRR. Mariama Cham, today is the 4th day of the army tour. Where are you guys heading to?
Thank you very much, Julie, for having me. So the CDS spent the night in Barrow, then he proceeded to Sai, where land was allocated to the army. Then he later proceeded to naval post in Barrow, where he had a discussion with the personnel there and also some residents of that particular place in that river. So he later proceeded to other places where we are right now, but we're yet to reach our destination. So this is what happened.
Okay, you made mention of the land allocation to the army in Sabi. Tell us more about that.
Yes, that's right. It is 10 hectares land given to the armed forces by the Apollo in Basayuara. And according to the PRO, the land will be used for the structural development of the capacity of the armed forces. And also the army chief and his entourage appreciate this gesture a lot, as this will go a long way in complementing development of the army. So the land, according to the PRO, could be used to build a military school or a barrack. It is not specifically meant for any particular purpose, but it will be for development purposes of the armed forces. It also depends on what is decided by the High Command of the Gambia Armed Forces.
So the land was given to them. Was it a loan or what was the mode of payment?
Well, actually, according to the gas PRO again, Medolan and Sanyang, the land was given to them at no cost attached. It is a quarter from the community towards the development of the area. But there is no fee or there is no payment plan attached to that. It is free of charge from the Basay community through the Alcalo of Sadi.
So where are you heading to next from that place?
Yes, right now we are in Fakali. We are heading to Fakaliba, where you will have meeting with the troops and also the community there. And later on, we will proceed to Farato-Jambur and the night with delegates. Then they will proceed tomorrow morning to the rest of the event.
Macham, a reporter who is currently with a tour with the CDS in different parts of the country. From that, we will now take a short break. Still to come, it's more local and international news. So stay tuned.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is the News Desk with me, Julden Jaisware. Now to the rest of our stories. The foundation stone for the Farato-Jambur road was laid in April this year, and now the construction that has already started is in high gear. The contract company, Hagi Group, is planning to build a first-class road in his area, but settlers and drivers express concern over the environmental pollution that the operation is causing. Omar Ahmadu Toure tells us more.
Work on this road is progressing at a steady speed, barely 3 months after the laying of the foundation stone. About 2 kilometers of the 5.2-kilometer road has been leveled and will soon be constructed. Sambu Jangasama is the supervisor of Hagi Group, HG, the company doing the construction work. He says his company will construct a first-class road that may be completed in 6 months of the one-year contract.
It's going to be a first-class road because it's going to have drainage, and it's going to have black stone, and it's going to have it's a good road even, because we have 3 layers after black stone. They give us 1 year, but I know before 6 months we are going to finish it. Because when you are working, you must expect that rain can come at any second. Okay. So when you are working, you will be very fast. After when you come back, the consultant, they will come and test. When it's okay, you just call the trucks to come and dump it and cover it.
Roads can have both positive and negative influences on people and the environment. Ablai Jallo has a tailoring shop beside this road and he pours water on the road to reduce dust pollution.
Construction workers are working, but since last week, when they reached my area, they put the gravel and sand on the road. They started leveling it since Friday, but at the moment we find it difficult to cope with the dust pollution, and we are encountering a lot of problems from the dust in homes and at shops and food vendors. We are experiencing a lot of problems, and it has gotten to the point where I have to pour water on the road to reduce the pollution.
Modu Sambu, a driver along Farato-Jambur road, says he is pleased with the construction work but would like the government to do more.
We have some challenges that we face, like the road, the way they are constructing it is very good, but we face some difficulties like too much of dust. Yeah, too much of dust. It is disturbing us, it is disturbing our vehicles, and it is disturbing the customers. So if they can just add a little bit of force, like if they have a tank of a truck which is supposed to use water, they can use it to help us so that the dust can be reduced. We can be able to walk again as they are walking too.
Esa Jan, chief driver at the Jambur car park in Farato, expresses dissatisfaction in the construction of the Farato-Jambur road. Good roads provide easy mobility and transport for people and goods, but road construction often has damaging effects of noise, dust, and vibrations. Excess dust production can be treated by watering or using dust binders near houses, but for the moment, none of these is used in reducing dust pollution in the area, and settlers struggle daily to battle the haze pollution. Reporting for iAfrica TV, this is Omar Ahmadou Toure.
Jambur Farato residents express concern over the environmental pollution caused by the new road. With that, we move on because in a bid to fight against illicit cigarette, the South African Revenue Service Custom has recently started destroying seized products worth over $1 million. According to authorities, the illegal imports and illicit businesses on cigarettes will affect the country's industry and production. The South African Customs Department also said the state is losing revenue thanks to illicit imports. Details in this report.
The South African Revenue Service's customs officials have scored several victories in the fight against the trade in illicit cigarettes. Earlier this month, customs officials at Bay Bridge border post began to destroy previously seized illicit cigarettes with a total value of about $1.2 million.
SARS has destroyed cigarettes from a number of seizures carried out across the country as a result of non-compliance detected, including, in particular, smuggling, ghost exports, counterfeit cigarettes. This is in line with our living mantra, and I quote, "Make it harder and costly for those who are not complying without following our relevant laws."
The seizure and destruction of illicit cigarettes is part of government's efforts to generally deal with illicit trade.
Illegal imports and illicit trade activities in cigarette and tobacco also affect the local industry production, marketing chains, and legal sources of employment, as well as hindering the government efforts to attain public health objectives. A 2015 study by World Health Organization, WHO, estimated that 1 in 10 cigarettes consumed in the world come from illicit trade.
According to SARS, illicit imports reduce the revenue the country collects, revenue which is needed for the government to provide basic services.
It destroys local industry, leading to factory closure, job losses, and erosion of the legitimate tax base. Some of these goods present a public health hazard, putting strain on the healthcare system. It also contributes to higher levels of criminality.
SARS Customs has now established the National Rapid Response Team to tackle what it considers major areas of risk.
South Africa destroyed illicit cigarettes worth $1.2 million. Now with that, we have come to the end of the news text. But for more of these and others, join us in our subsequent news bulletins. Many thanks indeed for the pleasure of your company, and do have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.